Welcome to my crib. How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Come on in. So, I've kind of led you astray. We're just here in a little lounge area. That's all we've got going on, right?
So there's no cars here then?
There's no cars here.
Oh,
There's no cars here. Unless, take a look this way. I'm going to squeeze behind you. Press the magic button. Press the button. There we go. Boom. The magic glass. Come on into the Shmuseum. This is my garage, my car collection. It's cool, eh?
This is lost for words. Don't know where to start.
Well, it's kind of crazy because how long ago was it that, like, with the Vantage, that's basically when we
That
met, like,
must have been, I think the first time that we met, or kind of went out, I was thinking about this on the drive down, we actually went to Paris when you had your Mini Countryman.
Yeah.
That was the first time where we kind of, so that was before that came?
That was with this. I got that because I couldn't do as many miles as I wanted to do in this.
And the R8 came afterwards, didn't
Yep.
it? Yeah.
So I sold this and then had a short gap before the R8. But I had this the first time in end of 2010 to 2012. So I guess we went to Paris in 2011.
Yeah,
probably.
I think.
Yeah, the Mini, I got the Countryman in April 2011.
So it was probably around that sort of time. That's over a decade away.
I sold it and I bought it back about 2.5 years ago now. So 9 years absence.
How did you manage to find it?
Well, it's a really funny story. The current owner took it to an event and he put in the window previously owned by Tim Burton. So obviously I share the name of a celebrity director. And somebody went and said, hey, isn't that your car? Sent me a message. So I reached out and through a chain of people made contact and arranged basically to go and drive it. And he saw how special it was for me. And he kindly made me an offer and I said, sure, done, and bought it straight away and have it back.
Because it's not the first car that you've brought back in this museum, is it?
Kind of. There's a story behind the silver Clio. Because a lot of people wonder why I have like a £1,000 Clio in a garage with a bunch of supercars. And the basic answer is that my original first car was identical to this. It wasn't this.
Okay.
It got written off not a long time after I had it. It got scrapped. But we did track down the cube of metal at the scrapyard. So I own the cube of metal of my first car. And as a tribute, I found one with the same spec in every way. Same wheels, same options, same interior trim, same everything. And I put the same plate on it that I had.
I remember that plate from a long time ago.
That was the plate in the early car spotting days that was on my Audi S5 and on my BMW 1 Series.
Oh my God, that's bringing back a lot of memories now.
Chasing Gumball in the early days.
Gumball 3000, Stallone Street.
All of that.
I think the good old days of car spotting.
And then we did this as a project 2 years ago to basically take the flagship version, right, and make a Clio V6 as cool as possible. This thing's a lot of fun. We did lightweight flywheel, clutch, brakes, suspension, the whole works. It's a riot to drive. You just have to remember that despite the fact it's a hatchback, it's also rear-wheel drive.
And it's a V6?
Yeah, and it's super snappy. So on winter roads around here, countryside,
driving in just now with the rain, it's I can imagine having some fun, but you really got to know how to control these cars.
At the real world end of the garage.
We'll
cool,
work our way around.
The 1M, my second car was a 123D after I had the Clio. So the 1M again, like the flagship.
That was a white one, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that.
White 1 Series coupe. I mean, we're talking a long time ago now. It was back in 2008, 16 years ago. I feel like I'm getting old.
Well, that is,
A mirror is pretty much my daily. I drive that car a lot. I love it.
Nice and low key.
Yeah. Do you know what? When I ordered it, I thought it would be more of a track car for me, like a track toy type thing.
Okay.
Because at the time I lived in the centre of London still. I lived right in the middle of the city.
I think I remember, yeah.
And I mean, this is only I've had that for a year and a couple of months. But now that I've moved here, I moved out 9 months ago. Now that I live in the countryside, I wish I had ordered a grey one that just disappeared. Because for what I do, I don't want to turn up behind with a bright yellow sports car. I just want a discreet.
Well, I think there's not really much discreetness in here when
I don't have discreet. I should have something more discreet. I mean, it's noise and drama. You know, you've got British muscle and American muscle next to each other, right? GT8 is a hilarious thing with a very personal story. This car makes a whole lot of noise. And then the GT500 I bought in the United States during the pandemic year.
Was
basically.
that the one you took on Gumball?
Yeah,
Toronto to Mount. I remember that. Yeah.
I bought it a couple of years prior, basically because I was in the US when everything locked down here. So
Yeah.
I had a visa to stay in America, so I was like, right, I'm going to stay there rather than come back. Bought this car, drove it thousands of miles across the country and back. A whole lot of fun, and eventually, after Gumball, imported it back here to the UK. It came over still with the Gumball livery on it, which was cool.
I think I remember seeing pictures and videos online, but I remember this car especially turning up to Bardstown.
Doing massive...
And it was funny, so you don't realise how much of a thing the English accent is. So I remember standing there with one of the other guys, and they're like, "Do you know Shmi?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's not here yet, but he's on his way." I remember you turning up, and I was like, "That guy's literally." I can't remember what he was. It was far, like it was a good 6-10 hour drive.
Yeah.
I remember coming up to you, and I remember you going out your way to go and give him a T-shirt.
I remember that.
And he was so like, he came up to me and he was about to cry.
It's so much fun with things like Gumball to have T-shirts and stickers and stuff, and just like soak in the atmosphere, right? So that's a friend's SF90 Assetto Fiorano. So my SF90, the
Beautiful
Assetto
spec.
Fiorano is like the more track-focused suspension and stuff. But I ordered the regular one because I have an SF90 XX coming soon,
Very nice.
which is really cool. Very excited. Up top, they shouldn't really be up top because they're two mega cars: the SLS Black Series and the GT Black Series.
If you had to choose out of the two,
Different cars. Collectability-wise, the SLS, because naturally aspirated V8s,
Yep.
gull-wing doors, just cool, and incredibly rare. They've made about 4 times as many GT Black Series, but this is like my go-to car for big trips. That's been to the Middle East, drove it around Dubai, Abu Dhabi,
I remember seeing that
been out
online.
to the
Yeah,
United States. I drove it 14,000 miles in a circle around the US. It's been to 31 states, I think it was, 29, 30. About 30
impressive.
states in one trip.
most people haven't been to 31 states full stop.
Yeah, that car has somehow. I repainted it. They've both been modified actually. They've both got a bit more power and a bit more noise than standard. But that's half the fun.
That
That's what
is,
it's all about. It's an AMG. 675 LT Spider. That's the car I've owned the longest in my life. I'm now at about 8 years. Crazy to think this is 8 years old.
It still looks incredible. I remember when you first got this. I think it was like the peak of car spotting days, and
Yeah,
it's a very similar colour to the R8. I think that's
it's
it.
actually, yeah.
That's the one car which I kind of remember the most. I think obviously
Yeah.
Aston Martin was a great car, but seeing the R8 was kind of
You know the drill, but for anybody watching, it's such a different world to look back now to what car spotting and social media was
definitely, yeah.
10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's grown immeasurably
Massively,
since.
yeah.
But back then, even when I took delivery of this in 2016, I had no idea what was going on. I was like just running this train, just
Yeah.
rolling with it, and just, it's barreling down, and you're like, yeah, this is happening. Somehow I'm lucky enough to buy a car like this.
because I think
No idea.
that was a kind of turning point, because I think car spotting days before,
Yeah.
I remember WhatsApp wasn't really a thing, but we'd always used to kind of communicate. And I never forget when the blue Pagani Huayra coming in, and I was heading back from Central, heading towards Heathrow, sitting there on the M4.
You
And,
saw it on the truck.
I just remember driving past, and I was like, I haven't got my camera. And obviously the camera phones back then weren't that great.
That's the funny thing. Like, we walk around, we're all holding cameras
Yeah.
now. I started taking photos car spotting in about 2006.
Oh, wow.
For some perspective, that's before an iPhone came out. Like,
iPhone came out 2008, so
7-ish. Well, yeah, end of 7 and
so you would have been, what, Blackberries,
Literally,
Nokias?
my first videos in 2010 are filmed from a BlackBerry Bold.
That's a lot of
And they didn't have
BBM
front
days.
cameras on. They just
Yeah,
had the one on
yeah.
the back. So I would turn it the other way and record myself.
They were, yeah. But you know what? I think we were quite happy, because I think back then it was a fun thing. I remember London was fairly safe back then compared to now. And I remember there'd be times that we would kind of, what we call do the laps. So, Sloane Street to the restaurants, to the hotels. And I think the early days, and obviously a car that we're going to look at later on, that for me I think was the best day. So you had like the Bugatti Veyrons and then the colourful Lamborghini Murcielagos.
Yeah, at the end of the line here, the 206 GTS. I haven't actually really driven anything. This has only about 400 miles on it, because it was supposed to arrive next month,
Okay.
March, but it turned up back in August. So it came like 6 or 7 months early.
Usually it's the other way around.
And I plan my tours and travel and stuff. So it turned up and I was like, this is weird, but I have nothing to do with this car. I have no plans. Anyway, it's going out soon.
Well, it's still the start of the year, so
yeah.
I think that's quite impressive
This
over
spot's
there.
currently a little bit empty, but we call it the Halo space, armed with a wall of all of my number plates. These are all plates that have been on cars. Like, if you go back, this was the 12C back at the time.
Yeah.
That's the Abarth, when I had an Abarth.
Oh my god, yeah, I remember that.
One around town.
15 plate Shmee, 12 plate.
Those were, all different cars. That was on my Vanquish. I had a Vanquish Volante, AMG GTR originally.
So what's the story with the German plates? Obviously that's Frankfurt and...
Yeah, so I had a 911 GT3 in Frankfurt, which had these plates on it. These were the plates from my SLS Black Series, because I imported that from Germany.
Okay, yes, okay, I remember.
And my US plates and random things are some I need to put up somewhere.
Running out of space, yeah.
It's alright, that's just a bit of fun. It's like it's a personal collection,
So
right?
still got that wall over there as well, so...
Yeah, and I could talk to this and turn all these lights on and stuff, but if I do that, it will set off everybody's devices who's watching, and that's always really annoying. And I apologise to the people I've done that to in the past, but normally we would have like a friend's visiting car or something in here. So very recently I had an Aston Martin Valkyrie here.
Very cool.
I'm sorry, it's gone. It's no longer here. Hopefully it'll be back. But at the press of a button, in theory, I can go boom and blind us with lights, which is good fun. With the logo as well. Because the funny thing, you see it in the logo, I'm sure it's blinding for the camera.
It is.
But the barn used to be a milking parlour, right? This was filled with cattle. So we gave that little nod with the bull's horns up on the top, and then this graphic has some of my favourite cars in it. So these are the headlights from the SLS, the wing from the GT Black Series, and the mirrors from the Ford GT.
Very cool.
All in one graphic, which is kind of fun.
So you just mentioned some cars that we've not even got round to it yet, so...
Yeah, true. The other side. Where do you want to begin? Over in the workshop corner, we have the MSRT pink van. This was our support car for the last Gumball last year, and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. We had all sorts of trolley jacks and stuff if anybody needed any support. We had a ton of giveaway stuff. We had all our luggage. Perfect.
It's a perfect car, and I think that's another...
That's painted. People think it's wrapped, but that is a paint. And we've got a potential replacement in the works, and I want it in that colour, and we're trying to see if we can.
Nice and low-key. And I think that's another thing which, when you're travelling and doing road trips and when you're limited with space, and I think that is a perfect vehicle.
It's a good thing to have around for taking wheels and tyre stuff. Brad, who works for me, this is Abarth 124, and then behind it we have a TDR T350 that belongs to Dub Customs, who do a lot of the wrap work that I've had done in the past, including the livery on the F1. This is a show car. It's not a real car.
How did you get your hands on this?
It's a long story. I didn't know what I was getting my hands on when I got it.
Okay.
It was a take it or leave it deal, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And then when I got it, we started figuring it out. So we did a lot of restoration work. It went to TDF, who are experts at this.
Yeah.
Effectively renew everything, make all the components look pretty. And then I had it repainted at Godliman's, and then obviously re-liveried, because it is an FW19, which is effectively the 1997 Williams driven by one Mr. Jacques Villeneuve, and it is the last year that Williams won an F1 World Championship. And this has the plaque in it, show car number 1. So I'm sure at some point the drivers, will have been in it, on it, I don't know. It doesn't have an engine, so you can't drive it.
It's a piece of art, that's how I look at it, so yeah.
And every cool garage needs a cool race car.
Yeah, definitely.
And we go from
Talking about
to a different kind of race car.
Yeah.
The Ford GT. That's my prized possession. Obviously the Zenvo is not here at the moment. The Zenvo is at the factory. Every winter I send it over to get some servicing and just check over it and stuff, because I'm not going to drive it at this time of year. So the Ford GT is here at the moment. I've had this for 5 years.
5 years?
More than 5 years. It's a very special car. I've driven about 12,000 miles with it.
And that's one thing which I admire about you is you get two types of people, and you've seen it on rallies and events. Yeah, and they're very...
Take this in. The LT has about 20k.
Wow.
The SF90, it's 9,000, but 9,000 for an SF90 is a lot. The GT Black Series is approaching 30,000. The SLS Black Series is about 25,000. Like, I could go on. Every
So
car...
miles or kilometres?
Miles.
Wow.
Every car is just driven loads. Like, don't stop driving.
And I think that's what it's all about. These cars are, you know, it's you do want to get out, and obviously, you know, I've admired watching your channels over the years. It's you're not afraid, and you know, you go.
I should be afraid, because most people who buy a car like this have a lot more money than I do. So
But then driving
very
this, so you've driven this in New York?
This has been everywhere across the US. New York, Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Las Vegas, Chicago. It's crazy.
Yeah, Chicago's quite an interesting place, and
I've been there a few times recently.
it's yeah, I think that wasn't too bad. But I went to Detroit during Gumball. That was an interesting place. I remember leaving the hotel and seeing a car on the street with a bullet hole through the passenger seat. I remember waking up and I thought, this can't be good.
No, I love this thing. Very special. Keep it forever. Mega thing.
So would you say that's your favourite car
That's my favourite of my cars. I could waffle for hours about why, but the history behind it, the personal memories behind it, how it looks, what it represents, how bespoke mine is. There are a lot of things that make this thing really like stand out.
It is a good looking car.
Yeah. I'd love one of these though. This belongs to a friend, Richard from Challenge the Road. He's got a lovely car collection. He knew that my first ever video on my channel was one of these in this colour, Murcielago SV.
English plates?
Yeah, no, an Italian plate press car, but...
Oh, wow, that's talking a long time ago.
But it was one of these coming over for an event when it was brand new, in the same Arancio Argos. And it's a personal thing, like one day I would love one of these, Mercy SV in this
I think a lot of people, even for me, I think it's kind of, obviously growing up in the early car spotting days, I think, you know, this is quite a significant car.
I mean, we'll never forget when there were like 5 of them in a row.
Oh, mate, it was, yeah, and I remember like going outside Dorchester and there was like 2 grey ones and one had pink interior and the other one had orange interior. Then you had...
Oh, the 640s.
The 640s,
yes, I remember
yeah.
That well. That matching pair of
matching
cars.
pair, yeah.
Funny. Yeah.
But I think like for a lot of people, for me, you know, I love the event because it's new, but I think it's probably one of the best sounding cars. So after
this sounds nuts. This has a... I'm not sure what exhaust it has on it off the top of my head, but something
custom,
sounds
yes,
nuts.
something, yeah. And this, it's the first time actually I've seen one on the road, well, in person. And this was what, replacement of the FF?
Kind of. I mean, I had an FF way back, then a Lusso, then another Lusso, so a Pura Sangue was like a natural progression. Obviously a very different Italian V12 to its neighbour here. The Pura Sangue is truly... Firstly, I'm going to say it's not an SUV.
Okay.
I know everyone says this SUV, not. It's not. It's an 812 that happens to have more space in it. Like, it drives like an 812, it feels like an 812, it sounds like an 812.
Is a V12 in, yeah.
6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12. For this time of day, you know, in this modern age, we should hang on.
It's becoming, a rare breed now.
Yeah, and then next up, a car you probably also know, Max Cooper's Jaguar XJ220S.
And this is the most recent.
He drove it for the first leg of the last rally, so that's why it's liveried. But you know, when I was watching Gumball 3000, like, remember the famous Rolls Royce spinning out? And
Yeah. So that's when they used to make DVDs.
This.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't.
That's what Max was driving back then. So for me, like those,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, you know, I always speak to people about this. I remember Gumball from, you know, the early days and before the likes of Instagram, and I remember going through online forums and kind of seeing what's been happening.
What's going on.
And it was, obviously, it is great, you know, now, but I think back then, there's a lot of things that you could get away with, which you probably couldn't get away with today.
Just a few. The thing is, this car is enormous. Like it's
when you compare it to the Purasang next to it, it's...
longer. I mean, they're parked in a hard way to compare, but it's a massive thing. And then this is like my games corner. Electric scooter, electric bike, electric go-kart, arcade machines, basketball hoops, slot cars.
I remember seeing this online, and you posted about it. You never, you don't get bored, do you?
No, never. It's like a big toy room. There's just stuff everywhere. Wheels and tyres, like a spare set of wheels for the GT Black series. In fact, some winter tyres ready to go on it. One thing I realised is the SF90 winters are exactly the same size as the 296. So I can just put them straight on the 296. Which is nice.
It's a nice problem to have.
Yeah. Just work out what's where. I've still got my set of Lusso winter tyres here. That's not very helpful for me anymore. But anyway, set of Ferrari GT4 Lusso winter tyres. They just end up stockpiling those things. Just memorabilia, and the heritage gas pumps are really cool as well.
How did you manage to source these? Is it from all over the world, I'm assuming?
No, all via one source, so all kind of easy. You can go mad at these things. They've really become collectibles.
Yeah.
And obviously have increased in value. In fact, so many of these kind of things have. The arcade machines especially, like the value of those in the last couple of years has doubled.
Sega Rally, F35. So I remember growing up playing those games.
Yep. Do you want to go waste a few hours?
Oh.
You turn them on and your day is gone.
I could imagine. You got it's a Pac-Man over there as well.
Yep. Days gone. And then the whole idea of the garage, right, is given many of these cars are track versions or motorsport inspired to make it like a racetrack. This is your grandstand with the VIP boxes, the glass windows, and then you have the view out over the racetrack. And if you go upstairs, obviously the view down is really cool as well. But it's been a really cool project because working with companies like Benpack for the auto stack and lifts for the cars, a company called Novus, Martin and his team have been responsible for building all of this. A company called Cure were responsible for doing the racetrack, and that was such a cool idea.
That is definitely.
It's like, you know, when you're a kid and you're pushing a toy car around your floor mat.
I remember a floor mat. Yep, I remember that.
Grow up, it's exactly the same.
But it's just got bigger live side. Yeah. And then another thing which has caught my eye, the Swatch watches, because you're quite a fan of the Swatches, and I remember.
I like colourful collectibles.
Yeah.
Right? So Swatch, Lego, all of that wall of cabinets is filled with Lego model cars.
Let's have a quick look at that.
The whole lot. I like things that are, I'm going to say timeless and also almost ageless. You know, anybody can wear a Swatch watch. Anybody can make a Lego car.
I think growing up, I remember playing with Lego, and now it's just you don't feel bad for walking into a Lego store as a grown adult anymore because
I don't at all. I love it. Yeah, so this is all full to the end, and we've got a ton more to build. Basically every Lego car from recent years, all the way down. So the Swatch watches, they make these watches called Maxis, which people might have one or maybe two if they like them, but I got a bit obsessed, and I have lots. And they're not even all on display.
Yeah, talking about the Swatch, I think I was really disappointed when they had the collaboration with Amiga, because I know you're a fan of those watches, and
they were too hard to get.
I remember when, so I'm wearing this one today, and got the horror strap on it, but I remember going into, I think it's Covent Garden, must have been about 2 o'clock in the morning. I saw like a gang of people, and I was like, yeah, you know what, forget it.
Yeah, totally.
And then last January, me and my cousin, we ended up going to Chamonix. So we stopped off in Geneva for dinner. So the State restaurant's right opposite the Swatch watch.
Okay.
So the cousin was queuing up, and I thought, let me just go and have a look. I'm going to try my luck. And I've literally walked in. The lady said, have you come here for the watch? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. And she's like, we just had a delivery literally like 10 minutes ago.
Perfect.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I went to Geneva and bought a watch. So that was, quite easy. But I've not been that lucky ever since.
Things that you don't normally see in a garage, but kind of important. All the stuff.
Oh, wow.
Rows and rows of stuff. It's funny, isn't it? Basically got a shelf per car, but dollies and trolleys and stockpiles of helmets and rags and just stuff. Literally.
And I think that's, phone holders.
Yeah, phone holders, chargers, like all my stockpile of C-Tech chargers, because obviously I constantly need to have everything on charge. We've got the cabinets outside with more stuff, but even like in here, a shelf per car, like this is the 4GT shelf, so it's got the car cover, and the harnesses came in that box, and all of the original supplied equipment is in here, and you remember the order kit, the carbon box?
Yep.
That's in that box. Even knowing all Ferrari covers for each one, it just builds up. It ends up being a lot of stuff.
And I think when you're doing road trips, as there's a lot of things that you need to kind of pack, and a lot of people think, oh, that's easy, just jump in a car, and there's a lot more that goes into it.
We plan it all. There's just a lot of stuff around. A lot of stuff. Yeah.
I'll say, I just noticed the scale electrics over here as well. That's, again, I think a lot of childhood memories, you know, kind of, you've literally made everything, you know, a reality over here.
We just made it bigger than I had it when I was younger. So this is Carrera, which is kind of a European competitor, and we might have broken off some wings as they go flying off the track and fly on the floor, but I think we've all been there.
Yeah, I've got a 911 GT3 RS, which I picked up from Porsche Museum, and the spoilers...
wings gone.
It's still around, but it's just not on the car. So it looks like a GT3 RS Touring.
Yeah. Yeah, stuff all goes on and on. I've still got tons more pictures and things to sort out.
I think you've definitely inspired me. So with the Road Trip Connoisseur, just hit my 50th country, and I'm kind of looking at where and what to do next. And I think, yeah, like for example, you've been able to take your car into America and, you know, the UAE. And
taking cars to a different continent is the craziest thing.
It is, but you've got to have balls to do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's when you're there, it's you literally, you know, it's like living in a bubble. But it's, you know, so I think majority of the countries that I've travelled to have been by car, and I think I've got obviously released my book last year, and a lot of people's like, why is it that whenever you do road trips, it's you always get yourself into trouble? And I was like, yeah, but then that's why you want to do a road trip with me, because you don't know when you get home.
That makes the memories.
Oh yeah,
that's the fun. You know, on Gumball, the last Gumball, I did a pretty crazy thing of driving a different car each day.
I remember, yeah.
So we planned in advance, liveried up everything in advance, shipped them all out to the different cities. So I had a car waiting in each city to swap. And when I say in the city, I mean at a storage location. So we had to have somebody traveling to do all the car swaps. We had to make sure everything went to plan. We had to prepare all the cars in advance, and then we had to get all the cars home at the end. It went without a hitch. It went perfectly. Everything, every step, every car was where it should be. Nothing went wrong.
And I think you're the only person that could pull that off. Yeah, I would have no chance.
It was almost like I set myself the biggest challenge.
But you did
hoping it would go wrong, and it didn't go wrong.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, okay.
So you've not really got any stories to tell apart from you turning to every city, yeah.
No, it was crazy. To turn up in a city and then to drive out of that city in a different car every day was mind-boggling to me.
And being a celebrity like you are, and I was like...
The whole thing was mind-boggling. And, you know, this is cars like the Zembo and the GT Black Series, the SLS Black Series, the SF90, 675, my STO that I had at the time. Like, to me, it just...
Oh, yeah, I remember you had the STO as well, I remember that,
I sold it recently. Different cars coming and going. You know, some cars will stick around forever. 4GT, 675, the Black Series, etc.
It's not a bad three cars to keep, to be honest.
No.
Yeah, it's
okay.
And the Aston Martin and the Clio, will they stay?
I think both Clios, both Astons, yeah. Do you know what? I look around this garage and I'm like, what would I sell? There's not a lot I want to sell anymore.
You get attached to it, I'm pretty sure. You do. And you know, you have a lot of memories in, you know, the cars and...
For sure.
Yeah.
And you know, like the SF90, for example, I have the XX coming, right? So probably I will sell the SF90 when the XX comes.
Yeah.
And maybe with the 296, that would sell when its replacement comes. Like, same, I used to have 12C, 650, and then an LT coupe.
Yeah.
And, you know, upgraded from each one to the next one. And then it's like keeping the last one, the one that came at the end. That was the plan with the GT8, the last one of the original Vantage, but then I got to buy that back again, so...
Yeah, that's kind of lost for words, yeah. But no, I really appreciate you showing me around.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Yeah, it's still a cool place, you know.
Yeah.
I obviously get to come here pretty often when I'm in the country, and I still walk in and I'm like, wow, just...
Still feel like a dream, like you've got to pinch yourself?
Completely.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I've obviously been doing this a while, but it still feels like it happened overnight. It still feels like...
Time flies, and, you know, it's... Obviously, like you say, when you had the Aston Martin and, you know, you had the Mini Countryman, that was two cars, and it's, I bet at that time...
I already thought life was pretty crazy back then. Like, to have that car back then, I was like lost.
Because you think about it, there wasn't really much... What year is that Aston Martin?
2009. I bought it in 2010.
So, like, Ferrari would have had, what, the F430 that time?
Yes. 458 came out in 2010. So
yeah, that's the kind of cars that you were competing with at the time, and obviously...
Well, I mean, that was a lot less. That car, list price, was just over 100,000. This was from when I drove Memorabilia in a 300 SL in 2018. First and only time I've driven it. That's how intense the driving days are, that I completely destroyed a lovely set of gloves from the Outlier man in a couple of days. But I would definitely get another pair. But hey, it's those kind of fun memories. In fact, I think I've actually got a few, memorabilia bits down here, even from the Millie, just stuff from different events. It's crazy how it builds up. This is quite random. Look, this makes no sense. I've never shown this on a video before. Oh,
what is that?
That's from the Star Wars part of Disney. From I don't know it very well, which I went to recently for a fun day. And on here, I went with Stradman, with Daniel Mack, with the Hamilton collection, so all of the guys' signatures are on here. So we went for a day at Disney, which was great fun.
Pretty cool.
Like I said, everything in here to me has a memory, and obviously picked that up to go with my car, signed by Jacques on the side, and then alongside it a Nigel Mansell signed model as well from an event I went to back in 2018 to the Autosport Awards dinner, which was an amazing evening. Always great fun, but they have these table centres, and if you're there you can bid on them and buy them, which is nice, and supports charity in the process, which is cool. But yeah, every one of these, like even this, the Le Mans suit for the 4GT, they allowed you to buy one as a customer, so you get it personalised with your chassis number. But what they did, which is extra cool about this one, is the gold GT logos to match, which I don't think they did for anyone else.
Okay.
I don't think any other one. I think they're all standard apart from this, even the shoes and the gloves, all to match. Normally you could only personalise this, just left it with the US flag, given that the car is American. Interestingly though, I'm not sure why I put the British flag on here.
I was just looking at that, so...
But I did, so it is what it is.
It is what it is.
But that kind of thing's cool, even if it's slightly freaky to have a mannequin wearing a race suit in my lounge. But how are you doing in there?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool place.
Definitely.
Just needs a bit of tidying up. I'm not very good at keeping on top of it. It's the only problem.
And are these all the tracks that you've visited?
Yeah. Oh, I've visited many more. Funny you should mention it, because I wrote a list yesterday of the different racetracks around the world I've driven, and I've driven on 60 different racetracks.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy. What is that? We have there 10. But those are 10 of, I think, the best tracks in the world. So the signs are all pointing towards the door. Head to that way to go to Monza, Silverstone, Cota, the Ring, Spa, Portimao, Le Mans, Red Bull Ring, Catalonia, or the Hungaroring. All great places, all great memories at each of those.
So yeah, thank you very much, Tim, for showing me around. If you're not following this celebrity, then please give him a follow. And hopefully we get to do some road trips in the world somewhere at some point.
You never know what's in store, hey?
Yeah, well, I think coming in, seeing a plaque from Japan from 2018, and straight away I was like, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Do you know what? I collected so much memorabilia over the years from the different events, and especially Gumball. Yeah. Because from Gumball, it happens so quickly in such a blur. Yeah. You get to the end and you don't even remember what you've just done. No. And so you have to look back. It's
like you're in a bubble, because you think, well, what day is it? Have I been to this country? And it's not you come back and you're shattered and you're hungover, and it's just different time zones, and it all kind of catches up. So, again, thank you very much. And
thank you for coming by. Hope you guys have enjoyed.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Tim.
See you again soon.